You're listening to the podcast of Iris Josephina. If you're passionate about exploring the menstrual cycle, cyclical living, body wisdom, personal growth, spirituality, and running a business in alignment with your natural cycles, you're in the right place. I'm Iris. I'm an entrepreneur, functional hormone specialist, trainer, and coach, and I am on a mission to share insights, fun facts, and inspiration I discover along the way as I run my business and walk my own path on Earth. Here, you'll hear my personal stories, guest interviews, and vulnerable shares from clients and students. Most people know me from Instagram, where you can find me under @CycleSeeds, or they have been a coaching client or student in one of my courses. I'm so grateful you're here. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello everyone. Today I am here with Eimear, and we will be talking about Druidry. I have always been very passionate and into everything that has to do with cyclicality and the earth, and I feel that Druidry is so beautifully connected to that. And yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome that you wanted to come on here to talk to me. So could you share what your story is and how you got into Druidry?
Okay, well, it's kind of a long story. I come from a Roman Catholic background, rural Ireland. And a strict Roman Catholic family. My mother particularly still is very religious. And it never called to me. And unlike my peers, most children tend to kind of be fairly religious. I never was. And when I was 9, we were in a religion class, and I realized, or it came to me, that the God the nun was talking about didn't exist. Now I panicked because I thought, oh my God, that's a terrible thing. I'm going to go to hell. But I remained an agnostic for years and years and years. I was doing some work with a medicine woman from the US, from the native tradition, and I really loved that nature connection. And I have a very close friend who's a healer from Tanzania. And I worked with him and I had initiations with him. And again, really loved that nature connection. But neither were from my landscape. And I found that a frustration. And I was with my healer friend Shaban, and we were in a bookshop, and this book hopped out, as these things do, with synchronicities. The Modern Day Druidess by Cassandra Eason. And I looked at it, and she wrote in a way that made Druidry very, very accessible. You didn't have to be deep in the dark forest. You could be in a city. You could have a few pot plants in your apartment, and you can create a grove. And that really, really appealed to me. And she mentioned OBOD, the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, which I'm now the Chosen Chief of. And she said she had done her training with them, but she was a solitary Druid, and she didn't like groups. Now that this is for me, because I don't like groups either, which is a bit ironic. And I went online and saw their website, and they have an introductory pack that you can order. And at the time, I had a choice to make. I'm a psychologist, and I was thinking of doing a course in psychotherapy supervision, which is kind of a sensible professional thing to do. And then there was Druidry, and I couldn't do both at the time. And I had to choose. Anyway, as soon as I pressed that button for the introductory pack to Druidry, I got this wave of, yes, an incredible sense of energy and a rush, knowing this was the right thing to do. I got the introductory pack, and then I just loved it. I said I want to join, and I did, and the rest is history. But I was brought up, I was educated by Roman Catholic nuns, but I learned all about the myths and legends from them. I learned about Druids. That the word Druid was always there. It fascinated me, and not realizing why, when I'd hear the word, I would kind of get some kind of special feeling or a tingle. But I never thought I'd be a Druid. I didn't put myself in that picture. But there was something very deep down that I connected with. So I joined, and my late husband Howard, and I, we didn't know any other Druids. And so we started running our own ceremonies to mark the Wheel of the Year. So that's 20 years ago. So we're now in our 21st cycle of following the Wheel of the Year, where every 6 weeks we have a ceremony to mark whatever the season is within the landscape.
Beautiful. And just for people who are listening and they're like, okay, but what is Druidry? Could you explain a little bit, like, in a nutshell, like what is Druidry and where lay its origins and what is practiced?
Okay, well, that's in a nutshell. Forget that one. But anyway, they say if you ask 10 druids what Druidry is, you get about 20 different answers. So let me give you my one. For me, Druidry is a nature-based spiritual path where you look to the seasons and the landscape as a metaphor for your life. So part of the training is around developing your own inner world, your own inner grove. This is this place that you come to, this place of stillness where you come to be, to reflect, to learn, to receive guidance. And when that notion that when our inner world is in sync with the outer world, outer landscape, then there's balance and harmony in our lives. So we do that by following the wheel of the year. So every 6 weeks, there is a festival. So we've just celebrated the autumn equinox, where day and night are of equal balance. And just after the equinox, the days get shorter, the nights get longer. And then we're coming into Samhain in another few weeks. And that is around honouring the ancestors, letting go what we no longer need, going into the dark time of the year, and so on. So every 6 weeks, we have a festival. And if we can, and it's a really nice time to say coming into Samhain, around that drawing in, shedding what we no longer need. When you look at what happens in the landscape, the cailleach, the crone, the hag, the witch comes with her strong winds and blows the leaves from the trees and then beats them into the ground and creates the frost, which encloses the seeds, and they can remain dormant and they need that frozen time. And in springtime, then they can germinate. And then further into the darkness of winter with the winter solstice, waiting. Our ancestors would have, there was no more work to be done. You'd gather around the fire and you'd stay in and you'd tell stories. And it would be a time of, in many ways, of rest and restoration. We don't do that, unfortunately, in the modern world. There's always that tension between what I would like to do in winter and what I have to do in winter. Mm-hmm. And it's around just reflecting on what's gone and what seems to be no more. We look at the dead leaves on the trees, but actually they're contributing to new life because they're bringing nourishment to the soil, to the trees through the roots. And everything is asleep, it's not dead. And then it reawakens in the springtime. So we honour the cycles of life, death and rebirth. And it's a non-dogmatic spiritual path. We have no teachings, as in there's no big book. We don't have rules. We don't have a notion of sin. What we do have is a notion of responsibility for your own actions. You live your life from your own internal moral compass. You are responsible. And I suppose that in honouring the law of the harvest, what you sow, you reap, which is not a punitive thing, but it's about you taking responsibility. Also, looking at your actions through an ethical lens. We don't have any diktats about whether, for example, some people think that Druids are vegetarians or vegans or don't drive cars or whatever it is. You choose to do what you wish. And it's encouraged, people are encouraged to live as ethically, as ecologically soundly as you can. But there are no rules about it, no condemnation. You can be an animist and a druid. You can be a polytheist, a monotheist, a duotheist. We welcome all spiritual faiths and none. So we have Christian ministers who are druids. We have Buddhist monks who are druids, agnostics, pagans, non-pagans. It doesn't matter. We don't get involved in those things. It's around sharing the values of a love of nature, honouring the landscape, the earth and her beings. And we have 3 strands, we'll say in the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. It's not a hierarchical order, but we have 3 strands. You start as a bard, and that allows you to connect with your landscape and to awaken your creativity. And through engaging with the elements, that your creativity can awaken. So the bards of old were, the storytellers, the poets, the musicians, the harpers, the history keepers. And that's a very, very important role, with stories are around healing, keeping the king in check with either a praise poem or a satire. Our next grade, and that's a foundation. And then the next one is the Ovate grade, which is like the shamanic strand, the healing strand. We study herb lore, divination, going deeper into the forest, as it were. And then the Druid grade is the philosophical grade, the pursuit of wisdom, teaching, the ritual holder, the celebrant, the ethicist, the guide. Now, you can be all those three. It doesn't matter. It's just that's the pathway we take, Bard, Ovate and Druid. But there's no hierarchy within the order.
Thank you for sharing that. And is there like a specific amount of like years to move through this, or everybody goes at their own pace and they arrive wherever they want?
That's exactly it. So each grade is a year. So you get teachings every month for a year. You could do it in a year, but we recommend you take your time. It took me 7 years to do the Bardic grade. Some people do it many times before they proceed to the next. Some people never go beyond the Bardic grade. There's no rush, and it's not about getting a qualification at the end. It's the piece of paper. There is, that idea that you're qualified. That's not there. It's the journey and your engagement with the teachings or the exercises or the meditations, how you explore your own creativity. It's interesting, when I was doing mine, I was frustrated. My husband was a poet and he could just spit out poetry just so easily. And I'm on the Bardic grade, and no, I'm in an art group. I don't really count that. It wasn't until after I'd finished the whole thing, after 7 years, that I started telling stories. And in the next grade, I took up playing the harp. So nothing is in a straight line. It spirals. I mean, you talk about cycles, life or going around in circles, but there's also, it spirals, it goes in and out. I would use the Triskel as a metaphor of the triple spiral for my own journey. In and out. I'm a celebrant of weddings and rites of passage. I was doing that while I was a bard, yet that's considered a druidic task. But you can do anything. So I was in and out, never in a straight line. And so you take as long as you wish. And your path is your path. And there's no comparison with anybody else. And that's what's really, really important to hold on to.
Thank you for sharing that. And I also loved how you use, or how Druidry uses the metaphor of the forest or the grove, and that every level, if you will, is like a deeper step into your internal grove and your internal forest.
That's right.
Like deeper into the layers of who we are as human beings and our wisdom. And you already mentioned that there are celebrations in Druidry, and they follow the wheel of the year. And just out of like very curious reasons for myself, like, does that differ from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere?
Well, yes, because so we celebrate the two solstices and the two equinoxes, and then the four, what we call fire festivals. They would have been agricultural festivals. So in the southern hemisphere, where we're celebrating, so we're coming into Samhain, they're celebrating Yaltana. So it's the opposite. And when we're celebrating the winter solstice, they're celebrating the summer solstice. That is because they fall into the seasons there. Now, the interesting thing is, we have Druids, we have members all over the world who don't have seasons like ours here. But what we encourage people is to engage with their landscape and connect with the spirits of place and connect with the seasons and see how they can work around following the wheel of the year. They make their own modifications to engage with the landscape that they're in. It's not dogmatic, because it's around being in harmony with your landscape, wherever that is. Now, I spent a lot of time in Africa, and for many, I taught every year there for 20 years, and I'd always be there for Imbolc, and I would do the Imbolc ceremony, which is really, really strange because it's not springtime. But I would, and I have a very close friend, Josephine, who's a Maasai woman. She would do the ceremony with us, and I would leave out the broth Bridget's cloths to gather the healing dew. And I would give those to people, and people would accept them. But it was always strange. But I didn't live there for for a number of years. I was only there for a short time. But it's really, really important to connect with the landscape that you're in.
Yeah.
It's finding your place there, finding your soul connection, engaging with the spirit of place. It's really, really important.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that. You mentioned the spirits of place. Like, I understand what that means, but for people who are listening who may not understand what you mean by that, could you explain that for a second?
I don't know how to explain that. It's like something I know.
Yeah.
And like, it's, you know, you get a sense when you go into a forest or into a park
Mhm.
or you're beside a lake or beside a sea. You can have a sense of some kind of spirit. I'm not talking about spirits as in, oh, ghosts or whatever, but there's a sense
Mhm.
of this place is alive and I can
Yes.
engage with this space as a living place. I can remember I was climbing Kilimanjaro years ago, and it was very important for me to connect with the spirit of the mountain in order that I assume she was she, anyway, whether I'm right or wrong, helped me on my climb because it's not an easy climb. And
Mm.
we did ceremonies on the way up. And that guided me. There was that sense of I acknowledge you as a living being who's sensory, who has an essence, who has a soul. And acknowledging that, it allows you to be much more empathic, sympathetic to the environment that you're in a much more helpful way, I think. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly.
Yes.
But
Yes, you are.
it's about bringing into your awareness the essence of the place that you're there, that you're in. And I think that brings you in closer harmony with the space that you find yourself in. And then magic happens. Well, one of the things about one of the important things in Druidry is magic. And it's not, abracadabra magic, but it's about experiencing. So the magic that happens when you are sensitive and engaging with the spirit of place. My Druid colleagues, we talk about this so often, that you are in a circle in the grove, having a ceremony, holding a ceremony, and you're facing the east and you're calling on the spirits of air, and suddenly a flock of birds go right by, just at that moment.
Mm.
I remember doing a full moon ceremony on a cloudy night. We're outside and we're standing in our circle, and then one of us turns to face where we know the moon is and greets the moon, and with that the clouds part, and there were people there for the first time and their jaws drop. Oh my goodness, how did you do that? And it's not, we didn't do anything. It's about how nature, or the spirits in nature, or for want of better words, just work with us, conspire with us.
Mhm.
I mean, conspire as in to breathe together with us, to just support us. Just things happen, how nature speaks to us. That's really, that's part of engaging with the spirit of place. The spirit of trees, very, very important, engaging with them, seeing them as entities, living entities in themselves with the consciousness. Now, we've no proof that that's true. People will tell you that's a welcoming tree, or this is a tree I have a strong connection with.
Mm.
And it's very much an individual experience, but a beautiful one.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I actually got a little bit emotional when you were sharing about this, because this spirit of place is something that I have felt since I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always been in communion with what is going on around me,
Uh-huh.
and always hearing, always feeling, always sensing the greater interplay of things and how nature speaks to me
Yeah.
in various ways. And it's just so beautiful to hear that there is an entire community of people on this earth who understand that and who live in that way and honor that. And this also brings me back to what you mentioned earlier, like this responsibility of allowing yourself to hear. I feel a lot of people these days are numb
Mm-hmm.
or have closed off this part of themselves, which also makes them miss or lose an opportunity to also hear parts of themselves. I feel if we close ourselves off to all of this information and this community around us in the form of nature, whether it's a rock or the
Mm-hmm.
ocean or the grass, we also have less opportunity to find that connection within us. Because for me, nature has always been my root, my anchor. Like if I lose myself or if I'm lost in what my purpose is or who I
Mm-hmm.
am as a person, I just have to be with the earth and I'll know again. It's like an anchor bringing me back to the center of what is important inside of me.
Absolutely. And the thing about within Druidry is that it's not that we like nature, we are nature. It's not, we're not separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're part of it. We are nature. So when you, like you're saying, you're actually connecting to yourself
Yeah.
and you're using your connectedness with all things to bring you back to yourself. You know, to
Yeah.
go outside yourself to connect with other brings you back to in connection to yourself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So, if someone would want to learn more about Druidry, where would you recommend them to begin?
Well, I suppose where I did, which is with the OBOD, which is it's the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, and it's based in the UK. It was founded in the UK. I'm here in Ireland now. It's a global. We have members all over the world. So it's www.druidry.org, and there's lots of information there that you can access on Druidry.
Hmm, thank you. And for people who have never heard of it, it is possible to order like an introductory
Pack, yeah.
package where you can read like the first part of
To get a sense if it's for
the
you.
yeah.
And I do a fireside chat. It's a live stream every Thursday on it's either Facebook or on my YouTube channel or the Order's YouTube channel, where I talk to an ordinary member of the Order. And we have the followers there. A lot of them are not Druids at all, but they tune in every week because they like to hear the chats. That can be also give somebody, it's called Fireside Chat with Eimear, people an idea of whether it's for them as well. And then Philip Cargon, my predecessor, he does tea with the Druid on a Monday. And that might give you a sense as well as going to the website to see if it's for you.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm just having like this question in my mind right now, and I would love to ask you. We didn't speak about this earlier, but since I am always like so connected to the cycles within us, I'm just curious, is there anything in Druidry that speaks to that, especially as women?
It's not specific to women, but is that we're constantly aware of that life, death, rebirth cycle within
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So
Yeah.
the course or the journey, the Druid journey, is not only a spiritual path; it's also a personal development path,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks to reflecting on what we need to let go of, what needs to die in order to be reborn. We don't do specific because it's for men and women on cycles, but
Yeah.
you're invited yourself when you're looking at your own life cycles. And we have so many. Okay, obviously there's the menstrual cycle, but there's so many other cycles within a year, within a month, within a day that
Yeah.
we are encouraged to reflect on, knowing that what follows death is another birth, letting go in order to let something else come in. That's very much to the fore. When we look at, say, the tree alphabet, we have 20 trees and symbols, and they have different meanings. And silver birch is the tree of new beginnings, and the yew is the tree of death and transformation. But as soon as you come to that, the birch tree comes into play again. So it's that all that time reflecting on that. And it's the same in our bodies. Our bodies are always the cells. I mean, I think we recycle our cells every 7 years. We're
Mm-hmm.
completely different
Yeah.
set from where we were 7 years ago. I find that fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not specifically for women, although there are women who do things, but not necessarily in the teachings. But it's open, you know. But
Yeah.
constantly thinking about that cycle of life, how important it is.
Yeah, and I feel it also almost goes automatic when you are immersing yourself in the wisdom and the ideas and the fact that everything is cyclical, everything moves in cycles. If you witness the seasons around you, it automatically invites to reflect on, like, okay, how do the seasons within you
Yeah.
show themselves, and how do you connect to those, and what is the energy and the feelings around it that you have when you move through them. Yeah,
And
really
you know,
beautiful.
where people in January make New Year's resolutions, and on the 1st and by the 5th they've forgotten them, and then they're feeling bad, etc. So every 6 weeks, with our ceremony, it's a time to pause and reflect and say, okay, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to call in? What And it's a nice reminder every 6 weeks to go within and saying, what is it you need? Not what you should be doing.
Hmm.
It's what do you need? It could be go and write that book. It could be clean your kitchen. It could be rest. It could be saying no more often, or whatever that is, or saying yes to yourself. We have a lovely ceremony for the spring equinox where we have little pots and soil and ash and water and seeds that have been harvested throughout the year, or from the previous summer, usually flower seeds. And people then do, as part of the ritual, plant a seed that is a metaphor for something they want to give life to, whatever it can be. And then you nurture that plant. And
Yeah.
it's quite beautiful. So each ceremony, each time you have another little reminder. What is it I'm sowing? Or what is it I've harvested? What is it I'm grateful for? So there's
Yeah.
around, this is what I would like, but this is also what I'm grateful for. Gratitude is very, very important. And then there's
Mm.
healing in all of that. Healing is a very important part of Druidry as well. And that relationship with the other world. The Druids kind of walk that line between this world and the other world. And that keeping that balance between the two. And that's connecting with spirit, however you define spirit.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I can listen to you for hours. Like all the things that you're saying, like they ring truth in my soul and my heart. It's yeah. Thank you for sharing all of this. And to close, is there anything else, any piece of wisdom from Druidry that you like to share with our listeners?
I think there's a huge importance to be still, to find that still center of yourself, in yourself, and to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. You don't have to be,
Mm,
on a sacred site around the world or whatever it is. You don't have to go to Stonehenge. I'm not saying don't go, but it's about finding that quiet, still place in nature, outside in a garden, in a woods, even in a park, spotting the wildflower that grows between the cracks in the pavement in a city, and finding the extraordinary within the ordinary. That I found
mm,
that's something I discovered on my path, and I found it really, really reassuring in times of doubt, because then you're seeing magic everywhere, in the simplest
mm.
of things, in the smallest of things, and that's accessible to everybody. And I think is a really important around being simplicity is really, really important.
Mm.
Then there's no
And I
pressure.
think,
It's just to be still
yeah.
and looking around and listening. You go, oh, I hear a bird. Is that a bee buzzing? That's beautiful. That's a gift. Those small little things. Because in times of hardship, and I'm just thinking, the wars that we're dealing with, that the world is engaging in at the moment, what it's like for people in those situations. And if there can be one little piece of hope or one small little thing, an ordinary thing that can give you some kind of hope, I think that's important.
Yeah, that's crucial for human beings. And thank you for sharing that with us. And I totally agree. It's like a little gift that we receive. It's like for me, it's like the same when I, for example, find like a berry bush
Yeah,
on a walk. I'm like, wow, there's like all these berries all of a sudden.
yeah.
And they are like little gifts.
And
Yeah.
that gives me, kind of I get a buzz from that. I have bees, and when I come across a swarm of bees or something like nature, and it's like, oh my God, I can hear them. Look at them. They're fascinating, and it just gives me such joy. Just those simple things, yeah.
I agree. And I would love to join one of these fire gatherings.
What they're live streamed at 8:00 my time. So I don't know, you an hour ahead in Portugal, or are you the same? I know you're an hour.
I don't know about that.
I know in the Netherlands you're an hour ahead, but it's at 8 p.m. UK time. And
we're in the same time zone.
Okay, so it's at 8:00,
Yeah.
and you just go on, say, Eimear Burke YouTube or OBOD, or YouTube or OBOD, or through Facebook, and you just watch, or you can do it. They're recorded. They're there. They're on YouTube afterwards, and there's a comment. So people comment, and we have discussions. So my viewers often ask questions of my guest. So we have kind of quite an interesting conversation. You know, it can be about anything. It can be about creativity. It can be about death. It can be about grief. It can be about love, adventures. It can be about anything, because I never know what my guest is going to talk about.
Oh, beautiful. So that is one place where people can find you. Are you also on social media, or do you have a website
I
where
do.
people can find you?
My own one is kilkennydruidry.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am Eimear Burke Druid Shanachie. So Shanachie is an Irish word for storyteller. That's on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. I will make sure to share all of these in the show notes so people can easily click through.
And there's also another Druidcast, Dave the Bard, our Pendragon in the Order. He has a monthly podcast called Druidcast, and that is an amazing resource. Great music, great pagan music, but also he has wonderful interviews with people, fascinating topics. I would highly recommend that too.
Yeah, I've listened to his
Have
podcast
you?
and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing.
I binge listened over the summer. I went back over them all, and I just loved it. It was just, it was a treat, because I wasn't listening to anything political. It was about all things that I'm not, all sorts of things within a broad brush, I would say, of paganism. And I was fascinated. History, all sorts of stuff, witchcraft, magic. I just thought it was wonderful. And then the great music. So I'd highly recommend that.
Yeah, I'll paste that one in the show notes too so that people can click through. And then I would love to say thank you for coming on here to share your wisdom. I really enjoyed our conversation. I am really amazed by your wisdom. And yeah, thank you for joining.
Pleasure to chat with you, Iris. Thank you, and lovely to meet you. I really enjoyed this conversation too.
Okay, this wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Want to know more about me? The best way to reach me is via @CycleSeeds on Instagram. And if you heard something today and you think, oh my God, wow, I learned something new, feel free to share the podcast on your social media and tag me. Or leave a review or rating. In this way, you help me reach more people like you. Thank you so much.